Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at what the citizens of the Sorcerer Kingdom, old and recently conquered ones, think about Ainz Ooal Gown and his realm. But before we're going to take a closer look at all of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, and say my thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. Also, there's a full-length companion video about how a realistic Undead Kingdom could and should work. It's linked down in the video description. So if you want more Undead lore after this, go check out the video description. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. The Sorcerer Kingdom of Ainz Ooal Gown is not only a relatively young nation that has existed for just a few years by now, but also one for which Ainz Ooal Gown sought advice from the NPCs of the Great Tomb of Nezarec for what he should do with it. So I think we should take a look at some of the suggestions made by them first, since they too had an opinion on how the realm should have been run. Yuri Alpha, for example, suggested establishing a school system to educate children, among other things, because Yamaiko, the creatress of Yuri Alpha, was a teacher, and this character trait has been transferred to her. However, Ainz had reservations, because the stronger and better educated the people are in the Sorcerer Kingdom, the more likely they are to challenge his rule and rebel against him successfully. Therefore, the education of the students focuses more on general knowledge for future professions, and of course, careful attention is given to the installment of loyalty to the Sorcerer Kingdom and of course its king, to the very children. It's a very nice change of perspective for once, because we see how the powerful and mighty are also a bit scared about how much power education can give the citizens. Now, for a completely different approach, Lupus Regina Beta, the smiling sadist, had a very different suggestion for what the Sorcerer Kingdom should be, and I will formulate it YouTube approved. The Sorcerer Kingdom should be a livestock-like environment where people are raised and exploited like animals, both figuratively and literally. Of course, they are slaughtered the moment they outlive their usefulness. And yes, this is still the YouTube nice guy variant of this approach from Lupus Regina Beta. However, Ainz made a different decision, opting for his Project Utopia, the creation of an admirable, friendly and prosperous state where everyone can live well and happy. Which didn't quite work out as planned, but we will get to this later. And with that said, let's take a look at the outsider's perspective on the Sorcerer Kingdom, because initially, newcomers found it extremely strange that there are so many different life forms in the kingdom, especially since a significant portions of these different beings would normally consider each other as food and not friends. For example, the snake-human hybrid, or Naga right here, was assigned to greet and introduce new arrivals to the city. Naturally, it still is far less shocking to encounter than an undead abomination, the antithesis to life itself, namely an undead being like a death knight. In other words, the shock is mitigated here, for newcomers, by gradually introducing how the Sorcerer Kingdom works to newcomers, before they are even informed about the rules. And there's also a bit of a scared undertone when it comes to things like bribes, simply because the guards know the punishment for taking them is death, and the Death Knights are more than eager to punish corruption in a very swift and very direct manner. And Remedios Custodio, I know she's not the most understanding example right here, but also the other paladins and Nea were mildly shocked and surprised by how just everything works in the Sorcerer Kingdom. In other words, many humans and mortals in general are initially bewildered by what kind of state this is. And of course many citizens and many traders of the other nations around the world would still consider the Sorcerer Kingdom as a haven of the undead, where a tyrannical ruler terrorizes the living and plunges them into deep despair. Thus, initially, they perceived the Sorcerer Kingdom as nothing more than a horde of a tyrant, an undead overlord, that would happily take their lives. At least until some traders found out that this is not the case, and more importantly, that you can earn quite a lot of money by trading with the Sorcerer Kingdom. So most of the traders of the kingdom, or what's left of it, and the empire have warmed up to the idea of traveling to the Sorcerer Kingdom, and indeed, to living there. But as mentioned at the beginning, many citizens hesitated, as only those who couldn't or indeed didn't want to flee remained. Therefore they were initially very frightened, and also extremely confused when the Sorcerer King, accompanied by some angels, strolled through the street. However, this initial fear of the Sorcerer King and the Sorcerer Kingdom, and the undead in general, gradually dissipated over time. Because generally speaking, humans tend to get used to almost anything with enough time. And this is also the case with the new world and its beings, like elves, half-humans, and other humanoid creatures, such as the dwarves. So, no longer would the citizens be afraid of these monsters patrolling the streets, but they might just think, "Oh, Kevin is patrolling the street, and he usually does this at midday. So I might have overslept a bit." And as Remedios and Nea walked through the streets of the Sorcerer Kingdom, they were shocked by the sight of soul eaters pulling carts. And again, soul eaters, these legendary undead creatures performing such mundane tasks, was a very, very unusual thing indeed. However, the dwarves by contrast, who had moved into the city to oversee the undead skeletons in their cobblestone road construction, had completely adapted to all of this. They and the other residents began to appreciate the many advantages of the Sorcerer Kingdom, such as good payment, high public security, and available and affordable housing. The dwarves even started suffering from success and some civilizatory illnesses, or rather they enjoyed it, and their problems are now first world problems, such as their wives starting wondering, "You've been living the good life, but what about me? Where's my share?" And even Ainz Pluton, the guild master, had to quickly acknowledge that even at the beginning of the Sorcerer King's reign, that actually no one was worse off, even though he secretly planned some resistance against the Sorcerer King, something which was accidentally thwarted by Ainz. And of course, the presence of the totally humanoid and exceedingly powerful hero Momon, the hero of mankind, and the strongest human adventurer in the Sorcerer Kingdom, reassures his fellow humans, because if the Sorcerer King were to harm humans, Momon, the defender of humanity, and again the strongest human adventurer, would fight against the Sorcerer King, for the sake of humans and humanity, as he is also a human, so nothing to worry about. And if you disagree with the notion that yes, indeed, he is a human adventurer, and therefore human, perhaps you need some holidays on the countryside, perhaps on some sort of farm, to get happy. So now that they are living the good life, the normal citizens think fairly highly of and welcome their new undead overlord. So what about the youngest members of the Sorcerer Kingdom? What about those from the newly conquered territories? What do they think? Well, Periuru and Jerknev have on one hand become best friends, because they suffer together under the devilish genius of the Sorcerer King and his devious plans. But on the other hand, their lives are now much easier. Although they still initially prefer to be free and independent, Jerknev is quite content with essentially having a relaxed part-time job now, where he doesn't have to constantly worry about potential machinations, plans and conspiracies. If, for example, the military complains about the recruitment and integration of so many undead forces, Jerkniv simply reminds them that they should take their grievances directly to the Sorcerer King, which then magically resolves any drive to moan and complain about the undead. But what about the even more recently conquered citizens from the Kingdom of Ainz? Well, at the end of the 14th volume of Overlord, and it was also briefly touched upon at the end of the anime's 4th season, we could actually see the perspectives of the surviving nobles under Marquis Raven, and Marquis Raven despises the Sorcerer King, and he views him as a mad king, he believes that the strategies and tactics employed by Ainz are so ruthless that no normal person would even consider them. Interestingly, the reference to the Mad King also alludes to King Arshnard from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, since both Ainz and Arshnard share the same voice actor in the original Japanese synchronization. However, Marquis Raven and the other surviving nobles, approximately 24 by the looks of it, are keenly aware of the consequences of a rebellion, as they were led through the ruins of Ainz. So it became apparent very quickly that even the mere thought and whisper of rebellion is deadly, and the path through the ruins of the capital is a journey that their children and grandchildren will embark on over many generations, teaching them how absolutely fatal treason could be. Marquis Raven also plans to instill this lesson in his son from a very young age. In other words, while the nobles around the domain of Marquis Raven, of Aelibera, may detest and reject the Sorcerer King's conquest, and that's putting it mildly, they wouldn't even dream of rebelling anymore. And any betrayal against the Sorcerer Kingdom and the Sorcerer King would be met with swift and forceful opposition, since they would rather sell out any one of their own, rather than risking the wrath of the Sorcerer King again. So this actually provides insight into the thoughts of people who aren't part of the common folk and haven't benefited from the economic development of the land. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have Henry, a simple peasant girl, and the village of Karen, who after having been attacked by many human nations, like that of the slain theocracy or the empire from their own perspective, and their very own kingdom under the Crown Prince Barbro, as well as the trolls from the Forest of Top, they are now seeing Ainz Ooal Gown as their lord and protector and savior, despite them knowing very well how many people his many wars have destroyed. But they still side with him, and not with anyone else. For them, he is their only real king, because he and he alone cared about the village of Karn when no other would. And lastly, it should also be mentioned that while Ainz Ooal Gown is regarded as a dictator, as a mad king, and as a tyrant by the surviving nobles of the Ainz Kingdom, he is celebrated as a liberator in the Abelian Hills, where many heteromorphs and demi-human tribes live, since he led the liberation army against the tyranny of the demon emperor Yaldabaoth, of course, and freed them from the demon's oppression. And in the minds of these liberated demi-humans and heteromorphs, Yaldabaoth was the cruel tyrant, who even flayed people publicly for minor transgressions, so Ainz brought peace, stability, and security to his new kingdom. And with this last Star Wars reference done, I will end this video. And now it's your turn. Do you want to live in the Sorcerer Kingdom? And of course, what do you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section. And while you type, also please check out my companion video about the Undead Kingdom. It's still linked down in the video description. And again, while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with Dead Head, Hector Moreno, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Vibetania with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Okill, Overlord General Gasper, Perdipentum, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss Rak Edsmasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and hope to see you all again soon under my next video.